a lot of like what I've done for my entire career, right? Writing, consulting, that kind of stuff. All of that shit is about to be replaced by AI. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year.
So
but
writing and I hope it's not writing, Jesus, and consulting
I know,
is
you
all
gotta
going to be
both.
replaced by AI. So you think that the resources that Claude and ChatGPT are going to give leaders in those kind of positions is going to be good enough for them to not need external help? Or people with
it's not
experience?
that. It's
This is Industry Relations, a podcast at the intersection of real estate and technology from an insider's perspective. Sponsored by Cotality. Stay tuned to learn more with Rob Hahn and Greg Robertson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Industry Relations with Rob and Greg. This is your host, the notorious Rob, and as always, my co-host, the fabulous Greg Robertson,
Hello, Rob. I didn't shave
who
this
is
morning.
yeah. Well, yeah.
As much as that happens, yeah.
Yeah. I would love to say that I shave, often, but I don't, because we Asians, we're not blessed with these like I remember I have friends who like had the 5 o'clock shadow.
Yeah.
I was always so jealous of them.
Me too. I don't get a full beard either. I get kind of like patchiness. Yeah.
Yeah, mine would be like the 5 day shadow, and then
I'd have the 5-month shadow, I think. Yeah.
I tried to grow facial hair once when I was younger, and I realized it just is like the Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't need to look any more like an evil villain. Anyway, clearly we have to talk about your event because it was fabulous, man.
Oh, good.
MLS
Well,
Reset
it went to brand then. That's good.
What's that?
It was on brand then.
It was on brand.
fabulous.
It was absolutely on brand. Great job by you and the rest of the team putting that on. I know it's a ton of work. So let's talk about it. There were a lot of topics that came out. You're the organizer.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm we're recording here on President's Day, right? So 11 o'clock on Monday. The event ended, I guess, really Wednesday afternoon, right? So I got on a plane, came home, did nothing the rest of that day, and pretty much the next day, right? It's just, I think back to back between Inman and this was not really smart.
Yeah.
Along with all the kind of nonsense we get into at each one of those events. But I feel kind of close to 100% today, finally, right? So we'll get back into work tomorrow. I just came in here to record the podcast. But no, I can't, it's amazing to me. We had such great response last year, and then to get even more of a positive affirmation this year, it's like it really just screws with my imposter syndrome, right? Because I just hate compliments, right? So I just can't stand them. And getting all the...
It sucked. It was terrible, Greg.
Something would be better than that. But I mean, everybody's been so effusive of their...
It was great.
They loved it and everything else. And, and a lot of that I think is like I always say, the venue, right? It's February in Scottsdale. It's hard to beat that.
Yeah.
You once again did a fabulous job. I think we
you.
had a great keynote speaker with Molly McPherson, the kind of crisis PR lady. I think I'm mostly in charge of the agenda, and what I hope people get is that, where I think other events, maybe CMLS is a little different, but we're fans of the MLS. I'm a fan of the MLS, so I put something on that I think everybody wants to see or wants to hear about. And there's always hits and misses of everything, right? But I think it's coming from a good place, and and then there's just good people in the industry that help out with that, right? So the panelists and everything else that come to thing and bring it. I think we just have to give them the topics that everybody wants to hear about. But but it's weird. We started right in the green room before this. One of the things I'm experimenting a little bit, and I had these kind of what I called AI quick hits, which is like I gave 4 individuals like 10 minutes apiece, no slides, just give us a way that AI is impacting them, or do they think it's going to impact organized real estate?
Yeah.
I didn't mean it to be kind of a very AI-centric
event,
but
it was
just because of all the stuff on X with OpenClaw and everybody hearing about that stuff and those things, it really became and then your discussion also, it really did become a kind of like a lot of people talking about AI and stuff. But no, I'm thrilled, and like at the same time, I'm also nervous because, as I like to say, the reward for good work is more work, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
next year we're going to have to kind of still, keep up to that bar of
How you gonna
what
top
we've
it?
done.
Yeah,
And then, and then again, it's like I'm so lucky to have Amy and Chris and Stacy and Dan and Ohan to kind of, all of us together kind of,
yeah,
sharing that load. I thought Ohan did a great job on his panel. So,
yeah.
no, it was all good.
Yeah, I think most of the people did a great job. I mean, there were a couple panels I'm like,
Well, it's always
What?
that way, yeah.
I'm sure we're gonna get into some of the topics and issues that were brought up, but that one in particular deserves a call out because it was basically the one about like how to work with the MLS or whatever.
Yeah.
That panel. It was like, I think you phrased this like, so basically the MLS can do no wrong and it's all your fault.
Yes.
Like,
No. I
yeah,
mean,
that's probably not the right approach. I'm thinking.
yeah. I mean, it was Stacy, and I'm glad. Let's start with
Start
that,
with that,
right?
yeah,
Because
yeah.
it was a little bit of controversial because, I think that the conference I wanted to put on was inclusive, meaning in the spirit of like how CMLS was, is like vendors are included along with MLS execs, right? So everybody has a good. There's vendors have great voices in the industry, right? So I thought, well, let's we should incorporate in the agenda some things that are geared to vendors, but also MLSs. Like, what can we get there both? And my idea was like, so you want MLS data, right? That's the kind of vibe, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what you have to go through. So
Yeah.
I volunteered Stacy Wood to be the
Yeah.
moderator on there.
Yeah.
Because
She did a good
Stacy has a
job.
wide background.
Yeah.
She was at Remax at the corporate level as far as working at the corporate level over there for
Yeah.
the franchisor.
Yeah.
Then she was the person that really dealt with MLS or with vendors coming into RE Colorado for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the funny thing is like, well, I don't, what's wrong with, and she gave me that same vibe. Well, what's wrong with the way MLS has handled this? I mean, and I'm like, you have no idea how hard it is to be a vendor and talk to you people, right?
So next year, I think the way you do this, you do a back-to-back panel, or you do a debate, or a panel where it's like a vendor and the MLS person.
Yeah. Well,
responsible for it.
that was a question, right? Because I said, well, she was in that position, so it was her, and then the two panelists were Angie from On My Board,
Yeah.
and then Sarah Trent Miranda from CRMLS, right? So, and it was like a little bit of like, and Stacy pushed a little back on some stuff, but I mean, it's like
Yeah.
this whole debate became the sanctity of MLS data, the gatekeeper,
Yes.
versus like how do we drive innovation, right? And
Yes.
again and again, it just came back. Well, the vendors just have to understand.
Yeah.
We're doing nothing wrong, and I kind of kept that theme going. And I'm glad you brought it up because I was hoping people would kind of like, see that dynamic being played there. But it is a tough thing, right? Because they are put in there to be somewhat of the gatekeeper. But at the same time, I mean, how are we going to innovate if it was just going to take 2 years to get any product launched anywhere, right? So there is something that I debated whether to have a vendor on the panel too to push back in that thing, but I think it was the right choice to have Stacy be that foil.
Sure.
But I'm glad you said something because I just thought it was like ridiculous in a sense. Right?
So do a vendor panel and
Yeah.
then immediately following, or the other way, like do the MLS panel and then the
Right.
vendor panel is like, the previous panel is like completely out of touch. Here's what we have to go through.
Well, they always default back to protecting that MLS data, man. That's just that's the the tried and true go to, right? That's a fallback
I mean,
for sure.
that's probably a bigger topic, so I don't know if I want to do it, but let's just kind of get into it. It's like, Matt, after that session, so after MLS Reset, I think part of me started to really question that entire premise. Like, is the MLS supposed to be a gatekeeper? Is the MLS, supposed to protect all this data? I suppose is one way to think about
Right.
it. Is that really what brokers and agents want? Right? I mean, we're told that that's what they want.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what they really want, right? So I don't have an answer for it, but I started wondering, like protection from what exactly, right? And so it kind of goes to copyright, and that was the Ed Zorn,
Yeah.
he spoke about that, and I was like, did Ed just say give us all your data? I think he did.
He did, but it was different. I mean, that again, I think we got a lot in a couple days there that were really
It was
touching
great,
some of the
man.
bigger things,
Dude,
right?
it was great.
Ed's kind of thing was like, listen, if we're the owner of and he was really specifically going to photos. If you make us the owner of the photos, right? If some shit happens, we can sue. We'll sue.
Right.
Where all you guys separately are not going to do anything, but
Right.
we'll make it happen. He mentioned that actually something did happen, and that all of his photographers in CRMLS are going to get like a $1,200 check.
Right.
And that's a shitload of photographers. I'm not exactly sure the full story there, but there's got to be more to that, because that's whoever they sued or whatever they did to is
Right.
a bigger story, right?
Right. Because I spoke to a couple of people afterwards who shall remain nameless to protect the innocent and the guilty. But a couple of the comments were like, cool, so is the MLS going to pay for my photographers?
Right.
There was one. And the other one was like, there's a...
Well, they don't even... I mean, that's a ridiculous statement, because he's not talking about monetizing them, in some way. He's talking about protecting them. And that can be, distributed back to the brokers. Right?
No, I get where Ed's coming from. I'm just wondering if he heard it the way that like someone who maybe doesn't agree with it. And because it reminded me, I think it's from Goodfellas, but there's one of the mob movies, right? Mm-hmm. Where one of the things is there's like a bar owner, right? It's like, I need protection. So the mob's like, cool, we're going to be 50% partners.
Right.
Now we own 50% of your bar to protect it, and then afterwards it's like, now that we own half your bar,
they just order a bunch of stuff without paying.
All this stuff. Yeah, I mean, it was a bit
Not
reminiscent
exactly sure
of like
that relates, but yeah.
No, what I mean is the message. Hey, you need to protect your data, so give it to us. Like ownership matters.
Yeah.
And I know
I think it's more give us the right to sue if somebody violates this or something.
Correct, but that's again, it was just a whole other.
Yeah.
But I'm just starting to wonder, like, do brokers and agents really care about that?
Do they care? Well, I mean,
the photographer certainly might care,
Sure.
right? Like,
Sure.
oh shit, my photo is being used in an architectural magazine.
well, I mean, you saw that. CoStar certainly cares, right? They sued Zillow over something, right? I mean,
Sure.
There's some amount of
But CoStar cares because it's like a weapon they could use against Zillow.
right.
Like some random photographer who goes, does he really care?
Well, I bet he'd start. I mean, once these guys get their $1,200
Sure,
check, it's like,
then he'll care.
now,
Right.
why did this happen here, and not any other MLS in the country? Right?
Yep.
I mean, that might happen, right?
Might, but that's the photographer. What I'm saying is, does the broker, the agent, really care?
Right.
I'm not.
Well, I mean, again, I think there are initiatives in place. I think CoreLogic has their PIN program or something called something different, like RE Distribute. So they're all trying to make sure the data is protected so that they can monetize it. It's the whole Napster versus the apps, the iTunes store, right? I mean, come up with
Sure.
a legal way of selling this stuff. And then they're all saying, at least RE Distribute is like, we're going to now, and then those proceeds go to the vendors, right? So I think if they can kind of capture that might be a big deal for brokers caring. Yeah.
Again, I don't have the answer, and for all I know, brokers and agents care very deeply.
Yeah.
I don't. It's just that like, I've never really had a conversation with broker and agent who's like, this is one of my most important issues is protecting my data. I've just not heard that.
Well, I think
unless we're talking about customer data, they care a lot about that.
Yeah, that's true. But I think you hear the latter or the previous was in, don't sell my data to Zillow. Right. Don't sell my data to Realtor.com.
Realtor.com.
They care, but they're not really grokking exactly how everything kind of works too, right?
So that's why I'm like, there's a part of me that's starting to feel like the conversation where it's evolved to. So what 10 years ago was like, don't sell my data to Zillow and Realtor.com. 20 years ago. Okay, like we've evolved to such a point, like that's no longer a thing. Now agents are like, why isn't my listing on Zillow?
It's still a thing, man. It's still a thing.
I know, but like, there's a part of me that goes, is it really that, or is it, I need to protect my copyright? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. But anyway, that's just a whole separate topic. Maybe we'll have to dig into that in the future. I'm just saying, there's a part of me that after your conference was like, is this more of a bottom-up phenomenon, or is this more of a top-down phenomenon?
Right.
Right. And I have to tell you, I'm personally starting to feel like it feels a little bit more like a top-down phenomenon, right? Where like Ed Zorn and the MLSs are going to go and say, we need to be able to protect your data, so give us ownership over these, whatever. And brokers are like, all right, I guess, sure, right? It's not brokers going, hey, Ed, you really need to protect my photo copyright, so therefore the MLS is like, I don't know the answer, right?
Yeah,
I
question. I think it both ways. I mean, again, I think it bubbles up in, why are you selling my data to Realtor.com so they can sell my own listings back to me? I mean, there's that kind of that to me feels that, and it's also then they get mad when something like ChatGPT launches a Zillow app or some things are doing over there, and like, why did that happen? Right? It's like so there's something there, but yeah.
Well, look, I mean, but
somebody's got to be at the end. Somebody's got to be at the top watching these things so they don't get too out of control.
Maybe, like, all I'm saying is, like, I understand that one, though, because it's sort of like, wait a minute, I just paid this photographer $300, right? But Zillow didn't pay me a penny. Zillow didn't pay the photographer anything, right? And they're just using my photos. Like, there's something of that, right? Like, wait a minute, I paid for it, right? That's why that first comment was interesting. Oh, okay, so now that you're going to own the photos, are you going to start paying for it?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. Again, I'm not taking a position. It was just more of a interesting question. But anyway, back like you're right to this extent. I do think this event felt like the AI event.
Yeah.
I don't know if Inman was that way. I didn't go, but so it's clearly like maybe MLS Reset is the one that sort of starts to transition. Like now AI is going to be every part of every conversation, just like the internet. After Inman really.
Well, it's not like every panel we had was on AI.
No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't. I'm saying, but the overall tenor, what people were talking
and
about.
I would really constitute that of like a lot of people in the audience. I mean, yourself and I and Cole and Tim Dane and some others have been kind of following this Claude bot or Claude. What was it? Is it?
It's now called
OpenClaw, yeah, but that kind of thing for a while, and that's been starting to kind of be in the kind of the ether, right, around
in the zeitgeist.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that just kind of matched up to some of the things there for sure.
Yeah, I think that's true. Yeah. But I really appreciated Heather Harmon.
Yeah, I mean, so that was a little bit of a balance, I think, to everything. Where she just no slides, got up there, and was real with us, right? And was vulnerable with us. And I mean, at the end of the day, read a poem.
Yeah.
I mean, how detached can you be from all the other things, right? No, I mean, it's all intentional. I mean, I will say the agenda was intentional right there.
Yeah.
I mean, you hope it works, right? But so we were trying.
Heather's great.
Yeah.
I know there were some great presenters, and I'm grateful to think that they thought I was one of them.
Oh yeah, no, you're always. It's a great. I mean, you have a great position being the last speaker of the first day to go into the part, into the lobby bar, into the dinners, right? So it's. I think it's a perfect position.
It was gratifying the second day hearing all the people like. So Rob said this, and none of them were like Rob. Here's what I was expecting. I was expecting a lot of Rob said this, but here's why he's wrong.
Yeah,
and I didn't get any of that. I was like,
we had I think a lot of callbacks, yours especially, but so that's always a good sign when they're referencing it. One thing that I thought was interesting, Clint from T3 kind of dropped something there on his side. This is on Ohan's panel of. That according to their kind of data now, it looks like the number of MLSs have finally dropped below 500 for the first time ever. Right. So that was like, whoa, I hadn't heard that before because the last number I heard was 512, right? So
it was 530 for me.
Yeah. So 530 to 512 to now under 500 is really interesting to me. So we'll have to wait for the real estate almanac to be updated, but that's curious.
So what was your most interesting, important takeaways, topics of discussion? What you hope that MLS execs who attended are struggling with.
Yeah,
What they're going to go do.
It's like I was making fun of anybody after that panel. Of like, I know you guys do everything right, but let me just pause it for this. So I was giving Mac and Salvo and some others there a little bit of hard time. I still, to me, I don't think, I just think we move so slow as an industry, and I'm just in the past month I've seen such a compression. I mean, I've been in technology a long time, and we've talked about how how quickly TV took off, how quickly the internet take off, and what's happening with AI is never is unprecedented, really.
Yeah.
And I just look at our industry as being such laggards and so slow moving because of the kind of process for approval and data and things like that. That I don't think I don't think we're going to be. I think it's just going to be if we don't do something quickly, if we don't kind of embrace some of this stuff quickly, we're just going to lose control of it, and nobody and it's just going to blow up, right? So
Yeah.
And that's what I worry about. And that's, again, the agenda being intentional about that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Russ Bergeron we had as a call back, and he was talking about well, with the internet, we had some time. It didn't really take off. I mean, we have no fucking time now, right? I mean, so it has to something has to kind of change there quickly, and we're so slow to adopt things. We might just lose control of it. I mean, none of this stuff is going to matter because it's just going to go, oh, yeah, what are you saying? Oh, get off my lawn. Whatever, dude. We have the data now. What are you going to do about it?
Right.
Right. So, it's getting to that kind of thing. I mean, that, and then one thing I'm curious about is we talked a little bit and after the show, and you were coming home and saying, man, I have to rethink a lot of things about my life. I mean, after going to that thing, let me ask you that question. I mean, what were you kind of what was causing you after spending, 3 days with our people, basically, a lot of it, right? I mean, that caused you to kind of oh, shit, man, I don't know, man.
I don't know if I said I have to rethink a lot of my life. I think it was rethink a lot of. So basically, for me, it's starting with OpenClaw because I saw that. So this is interesting. Play around with it. In the last,
did you do OpenClaw or you just did vibe coding? Were you doing
OpenClaw?
So you actually got a little Mac Mini or whatever, a VPN or something.
Yeah. No, I started on the VPS.
Yeah.
Because I'm I don't want to spend $600 on a Mac Mini.
Yeah.
Let me just kind of play around with it. I played around with it. I was like, this thing is insane. It's amazing. So I went and bought the Mac Mini and have it installed. My bot's running right now in the background. I mean, and then I got into vibe coding. I said, okay, this is interesting. Let me check out Claude. And then I said, oh, look, subscription. So I started the $20 subscription. That quickly
tokens quickly.
Right. That quickly became 100. Now I'm at the max 200 a month, thing, and I'm using the hell out of it. And it's really changed how I think about society, technology. I've got an essay coming out later today. So by the time this issue airs, hopefully by essay will be out. Start thinking about it's sort of the Heather Harmon question, what is humanity in the age of AI? Right. Start thinking about that. And in preparation for your session, I started thinking about, okay, MLSs, how does AI really affect MLSs? And I think my whole message was AI is coming, but not in the way you guys think, right? It's my general thesis. I think the MLS is hopefully up till our event, right? Just think about AI as okay, this is a really cool new tool that agents and brokers and consumers can start using. So we just have to figure out how to license it properly, how to give it access to our data properly. I think that was the conversation that was going on. Yeah. And it's the Kurt Beardsley presentation, which he did a phenomenal job. He's such a
Kurt.
great storyteller,
right?
But his overall theme at the end of the day, message is AI is coming. This is the invention of the car. And just like the US built highways, right? The MLS need to build new highways, new information highways in order to encourage and whatever. And clearly the implication is we at Zillow should be one of those highways because we're building AI. I'm okay, cool. That's all great. Whereas my take was, and it was kind of the comment, and no one said anything to me after, but I still think it's true. I'm literally every job in the MLS could be done by AI. right? I couldn't think of like, and no one said, no, that's not true. Like compliance, that could be done by AI. Customer service could be done by AI. No, I did get pushback from a ML CEO afterwards in the bar. Uh, you know, and if I think of it that way, I think the impact of AI and the MLS is dramatically different than what everyone thinks, right? And it's my 3 slides. I'm not going to put them up, but it basically goes, every job in the AI, in the MLS can be done by AI. Right? And if that's true, then one MLS could serve the entire country. And if that's true, then the final factor that I think most MLSs have not been thinking about at all is the impact of the Compass Anywhere deal. Right. And how the composition of their brokerage participants are going to utterly change over the next however long, right? Few years, right? It's not going to be 10 years, though. That's what I'm saying. It's not like there's no world in which I think EXP is going to be like, we're happy being 6 times smaller than Compass. Like, there's no world where I see that happening, right? So I'm like, I don't think we're dealing with all of that. And again, the way I looked at it is, okay, if AI could do every job and one MLS could serve the entire country as a result, right, with a bunch of AI agents, then there's nothing that says a bunch of brokers getting together, they could create that MLS. Right? And that's the losing control piece that I think maybe you're thinking about. And, you know, sort of my big takeaway at the end of it, and this is what I told the audience, is you're right. I mean, the problem really is that the MLS don't move fast enough. They don't make decisions fast enough.
Well, I wouldn't even put it on the MLS thing. It's just this industry, right? Overall.
Sure,
it's like,
sure. But because it was MLS Reset, we're talking to our MLS friends, peers. Sure. And they all know it, right? Like, I've spent my entire career trying to liberate the MLS CEO and, you know, kind of failing. So, and it comes down to like, you can't have a board, right, that's patterned after like a realtor association board to run an MLS. It just, sorry, it doesn't move fast enough. You don't have the right people there. But you're going to have that board if it's owned by a nonprofit realtor association. So, you know, my whole thing is you have to change ownership, you have to change governance, right? And you have to change the culture. And I don't know how you do that. That's why I said, I got nothing to sell you. Like, I'm a consultant. I have no advice for you, right? Other than, because I don't know if you're ready to do anything, you know? I don't know if you're ready to actually implement any of those things. I don't know if your owners are. I don't know if your board is. And if so, then, you know, then it is what it is. Then what happens, happens, right? And then we all just sort of sit back and try and react to it, right? And I don't know how that's going to go. You know, it could be that the big MLS, the CRMLS, the bright MLSs, you know, those guys just start massively expanding, right?
Right, aggregating, you know, different, yeah.
It could be that.
But on your level of you thinking about what you're doing because of that, I mean, what were your thoughts of that? I mean, was it a change in your?
So there's a positive and a negative, right? The negative is a lot of like what I've done for my entire career, right? Writing, you know, consulting, that kind of stuff. All of that shit is about to be replaced by AI. Maybe not this year, maybe not next year.
So writing, and I hope it's not writing, Jesus, and consulting is all going to be replaced by AI. So you think that the resources that Claude and ChatGPT are going to give leaders in those kind of positions is going to be good enough for them to not need external help or people with
it's not that. It's, how do I put this? So I'll take it from the essay that I wrote this morning. The only advantage I have over Claude, quite honestly, at this point, which means it's not even like whatever future Claude that's coming, I feel like the only advantage I have is creativity and authenticity. That's it. Because
those are two huge things, though.
Sure, but what I mean is like Claude knows more than I do, right? Like,
but that goes back to me like almost the book smart conversations,
correct,
right? I mean,
correct.
So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of,
right.
I mean, there's a ton of people smarter than all of us, right? I mean, but that doesn't mean they can actually do anything.
Who knows how it's going to, what I'm saying is from that standpoint, it's sort of like the same conversation happening in law, right? Or even in medicine to some extent, which is like, you know, Anthropic, they released a Claude Cowork legal plugin, right? And a bunch of lawyers are like, this will never replace me. But the same breath, they say, I no longer need paralegals and I don't need junior associates. I'm like, yeah, it's not going to replace you, 20-year veteran with tons of experience and whatever. So is AI going to replace you and me? I don't know. But are you going to hire a junior associate to come in and do data analysis and do the whatever crap, you know what I mean, like that a client would need? Probably not.
My thanks again for Catality for sponsoring Industry Relations. You know that feeling, don't you? As an agent, you're starting from a blank listing form, wading through endless data entry, trying to remember every tiny detail from that property tour. It's a grind that eats up your valuable time you could be spending with clients. What if you could flip the script? Totality is here to help with its new AI-powered Matrix Listing Manager. It's the next evolution in creating listings, built on their powerful core AI platform. Forget hours of painstaking work. Now tasks that used to take forever can be done in minutes. Their new Listing Manager uses cutting-edge AI to help agents create richer, more accurate listings so they can focus on building relationships instead of wrestling with data. Here's how it works. An agent can start a listing right from their iPhone with the MLS Touch app. They can use their voice to add notes as they walk through the property and let the AI automatically tag photos and capture room dimensions with incredible accuracy. The best part, everything captured in the field syncs instantly, so it's waiting for them back at their desk. And because it's available as a standalone module, it can integrate with any MLS platform, giving MLSs and brokers the flexibility to populate listings across multiple MLSs while keeping all their data in one place. MLSs, reach out to your Catality rep today and get a demo. Thanks again to Totality for sponsoring Industry Relations. That to me is a little bit, and that you hear that throughout, right? Especially in the dev, in the engineering. No, this is like having your own smart junior engineer. We don't need engineering. So a lot of people getting with their CS degrees are having trouble finding jobs.
Correct.
But what this reminds me of is like, okay, so that might be good for one generation,
right?
But the next generation, like, who's coming up that learned from the senior engineers to become
nobody.
Yeah, so it's like I don't know how that kind of works. You know, what it reminds me of is like, my wife being a school teacher, right? So it's like there's a group of kids, right, that miss kindergarten, right, and and what happens is what you find out is, that's when you learn to line up. That you learn you couldn't cut in line, you couldn't, there's social things. Kindergarten seems like whatever, but it was like these basic things of how to take instruction, how to take order, how to live in a structured environment of a classroom, right?
Right.
And when that's been taken away and you think like, okay, well, fuck, when they're 10 or 7, they'll, 8 years old, they didn't really need that. But what you find is when the kids get there, they didn't have that background and whatever. And then it was like they have no idea how to behave. Right. And I think there's something similar with like, okay, I'm not going to hire any junior engineers. I'm going to do it. Then I die. Okay. So who is, who becomes the senior engineer to make sure the AI agents are fucking doing their jobs? I mean, I think that's flawed thinking if people are thinking like that. Right.
I mean, flawed or not, I'm just saying like, that's the reality of it. Right. So when I say like the negative is a lot of what I was doing to provide value to my customers, right, can be done by AI. Right?
Yeah, I don't look at that from just being new to this consulting game. I don't look at that at that way at all.
Okay, and I don't know what your practice looks like. So if I do an engagement with an MLS, I go in, and part of it is like analysis of your subscriber base, analysis of your whatever. Like all that shit used to take me hours and hours and hours of time. Hours, and that's what I charge for, right? Or it might be like, let's look at your financial structure and let's look at, whatever. All that shit can now be done in like 10 minutes with Claude, right?
Well,
so So I'm saying I'm not adding a ton of value in that sense. So the only value I could add is, okay, I can be like, here's what the data says, here's what, what the
to
study.
Be that interpreter, yeah.
Right. Like, okay, well, I'm going to be exercising like creativity. Okay, given this may be things that we could try. Here's some strategy you could do.
But isn't that in the end of the day, you might charge less for hours.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, that's what they're hiring you for, Rob. They're not hiring you to crunch fucking data and analyze or whatever.
Agreed.
So I don't know if that displaces you. All it does is makes you more productive.
Oh, that's the hope, right? So it's like, so I'm going to use AI to be
Yeah.
more productive, like that. But that's me, right? That's my point. I'm not hiring a junior associate. I see no world in which I would hire a junior associate.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? Now,
Right.
maybe it's because I'm not some big I'm not T3, right? So I don't, I'm like basically a one man, two man shop, right? So yeah, maybe I don't have those ambitions like, well, what happens if I die? It's more like, let me just serve my clients better. And AI is going to make me more productive in that sense. The flip side of it, here's the positive side, okay? I think with AI, how do I put this? I think jobs go away. Like almost all jobs I see being just gone.
Garbage man?
Hold on. Well, all female jobs, I guess, all women's jobs go away. But it's the greatest opportunity for entrepreneurs I've ever seen. In other words, I think now that 22-year-old graduating college shouldn't be thinking about how do I get a job. They should be thinking about how do I start a business.
Yeah, there's a meme about, or not a meme, but kind of a thing out there on Twitter also is like, when is going to be the first solo business $1 billion
Billionaire.
company?
Yep.
Right. So that means one person
Yep.
that has basically built something
Yep.
that is generating something worth $1 billion.
That's right.
Yeah.
With a legion of AI assistants.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's probably coming within our lifetime, right? So the positive and the negative, sort of, I don't know how to assess that. There's good and there's bad, right? There's trade-offs. But when you think of it in those terms, man, that's the challenge, I think, for our audience, which is primarily MLS organized real estate. I don't think they've ever thought of it. I don't think they've struggled with it. And I think now is the time for them to struggle with it and deal with it, right? Like jobs are going away, but businesses will start. Do you know what I'm saying? Like that is a really different way of looking at the world. And my question, I suppose, is the current leadership capable of wrestling with that and dealing with it? And my assessment is I don't think they are, not because of the people we saw. And this has been always a theme in our conversation, right? We know these CEOs, right? We know the people who work at the MLS, like that's their life, that's their career. They know what to do. They're really smart. They get it, and they want to experiment. They want to try things. The question is whether they're bored, and then ultimately whether their shareholders will let them. And those folks have different criteria. They have different, like their interests are not necessarily aligned, right? And that's the big existential question of the next few years, right? And to Russ's point, it might not be a few years. Like the pace of change in this AI thing is just mind-boggling. Like as an example, Anthropic comes out with Opus 4.6, right?
Yeah.
Which is like the best model, in existence right now. 20 minutes later, OpenAI goes 5.3 codex. 20 minutes. Just yesterday, there was an announcement by, I can't remember the name of the company. It's a Chinese AI company. Minimax 2.5. Yesterday. So that's like in 2 weeks. And they're like, we're almost as good and we're like 10th of the cost and all that. Like, the pace is just insane.
Yeah.
So I think about applying that to kind of the world we know, where it's like monthly board meetings, committee, consultation, more committee, bring in consultants to do a study, go and socialize and, like talk to a bunch of people and then meet again and then another committee. And then, like, I don't know if that way of working can deal with what's coming. I just don't.
Yeah, I remember, talking to some MLS people and saying a little bit similar was, I remember talking to, I think it was Mark over at Stellar MLS. He says, Greg, we got 88 vendors right now that we have on a list that we have to kind of go through. I'm like,
Right.
And I'm thinking about now it's like, you have to be ready for a world where some college kid in his room is going to want to do something with your data. So that 88 people you're waiting on could be, 388
Right.
individual people, whether they might be brokers, they might be just people trying to build some shit, right? I mean, that whole the infrastructure we have now for all that is not going to work for that type of world.
Oh, there's no way.
Yeah.
And I think the idea in our world, organized real estate MLS, because for so long they've been the control, right? They've been the government, right?
Yeah.
And they just sort of take it for granted, like, here are rules and you're going to fit into our rules. And I'm sitting here going, that ain't necessarily so, right? Like, you could have all the rules you want, but if people want to do stuff, they're going to find a way of doing it.
Yeah.
Like, with or without you. And I don't know if that's what I mean by sort of the culture aspect, right? And going back to that panel, like, I get it, like, where Angie and Sarah are coming from, right? That's the world they know. That's the world they're used to, right? And from their perspective, there's absolutely no reason why any of that would have to change just because of AI or because of whatever, right? I'm looking at it like, but if there is AI, there is like whatever 5 million new businesses formed by young people using AI bots. Like, they might look at that and go, I'm not dealing with that. I'm going to find a way around it.
Yeah, no, 100%.
And then what do you do if you're the MLS? You're like, but what about our rules? Like, well, nobody gives a shit about your rules.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Well,
saying.
how are you going to enforce it? It's like, well, we have all the members. We'll kick them out of the MLS. Like, that's cool. I've got 7 million other tools I could use instead. Like, I don't think they're dealing with that possibility.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those like unthinkable things. And I'm like, it's thinkable for me.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe that's my role in the industry. It's like, I could be wrong, y'all, but I can think it. And if I could think it, then it could be real.
Yeah.
Right. And so therefore you should think about it. And if you think about it, a bunch of things are going to fall out. A bunch of things are going to fall out that you're going to look at your current system, your current infrastructure and go, we got to make some changes like quick because we can't deal with this. Right? And that's hopefully that was sort of like messaging. I mean, as I said, man, I love all these people. I want to see them be okay. But if they just stay the course and assume, well, we got 3 years, we'll meet again at NAR mid-year and talk about it again. Let's take it back to the Cove group. Let's have a discussion
right? Yeah.
with CMLS. Like, I don't think you got that kind of time. I just don't. Right? Because again, so part of like my messing around with AI and vibe coding was like that dating site I've been talking about for 3 years.
Yeah.
I built it. Not I, clearly. My Claude did, but you know what I mean? It's ready for beta test in 2 weeks. That would have taken me raising money, hiring a tech team.
Oh, yeah. Pain in the ass.
And I'm like, if that's what I can do, imagine what a 22-year-old with a computer science background can do.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yo, the future is completely different than what we're used to. And that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I mean, I did this over the weekend. When I came back, I promised. Toby needed his computer took a crap, and I'm like, listen, I'm going to get you another computer, but you're going to have to do something for me, right? So this weekend, I gave him a couple videos, and I'm like, okay, I want you to make your own app, vibe your own app, right?
Right.
All I did is give him a couple videos. He came back to me, a couple questions, and went up there.
Yeah.
And I just knew his personality. I'm going to do the same thing with Cole. I unlocked. I know I unlocked him, and he comes out of his room like 4 hours later. Goes, I've ascended. This is Toby Baxley's word, right? Because
it's true.
It's true because he just, and again, I'm going to show Cole this, but he just realizes there's a great Steve Jobs interview where he basically says, once you realize that everything around you was built by somebody and you could do the same thing, that's an unlock that you'll never kind of like really, I think, overcome. I mean, you're just now it's like your eyes are open now, right? It's like the red pill, green pill thing, right? I mean,
it kind of is.
And so he just he knows that anything, and he's got a really cool app, right? That he built is for he scratched his own itch on something he wanted to do. And I was like, he's showing it to me, right? And I'm like, okay, so now the next thing we do is we get as many people we can because they're going to tell us the real. So I'm having these kind of like on level software discussions I would have with like, his Uncle Dan, right?
Right.
On that. And he's like, he's basically Uncle Dan now is what he is.
Let's not go too far.
Yeah.
Dan's got experience
Yeah.
and knowledge and wisdom that
Yeah.
only years can give you. But it is remarkable. Right?
Yeah.
It is remarkable. But again, like if I'm at MLS, like I said from stage, the only strat planning topics that are worth having is ownership, governance, and culture. Honestly, it's the only one worth having. Because if you wait till next year to have that conversation, chances are the world has passed you by. That's what I genuinely believe based on what I've seen from what's possible now. Right.
Yeah.
But from an execution standpoint, as like if you're the CEO, like here's a question. Let's just get real practical about it. Okay. I need someone to give me one reason why you would have human compliance officers in light of what we know AI and technology can do. Like what is the justification for a human compliance officer?
I mean, first of all, that the whole compliance software industry it's one of the things that have been rapidly progressive with AI than anything else. You've got tons of solutions out there, Retsby, right? Or whatever, how do they pronounce their company name? I mean, there's Checkmate.
Yeah.
There's all these kind of things that are using and leveraging AI, right? So that's already happening, right? But I think there's always going to be these use cases because not everybody's going to be. There's always going to be edge cases, I think, in something, right? So
that's, kick it to the CEO.
That's what the
I know, but kick the edge case to the CEO.
Well, I mean, you would think the CEO's got better things to do than deal with compliance issues, but yeah.
Well, how many edge cases are there?
It's real estate, man. I'm sure any
what I'm
realtor
saying?
and anybody in the compliance department of an MLS can tell you, like, it's a thing.
Well, let me put it this way. If I'm a compliance officer, if I'm a CEO, MLS CEO today, I take compliance calls, compliance issues that come in, I feed into Claude today and see what it comes back with.
Right.
And then role play, right? Okay, well, then I didn't do blah, 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 in the role play.
Yeah.
I think you'll be shocked.
Yeah.
I think you'll be shocked. Again, I wasn't saying this last year, right? And a lot of it, I think it opened my eyes. I saw like a YouTube video from one of these AI guys. What he said was, if your experience with AI is ChatGPT from last year, or if your experience like free tier stuff that the OpenAI and X and Anthropic are producing, you have no idea what today's AI is capable of. He's like, go pay the $20, right? So you use the paid tier models, and then like really interact with it.
Yeah.
It will blow your mind. And I agree with him.
And there's three things. I mean, there's even before, like, you talk about AI from the consumer side.
Yeah.
Another thing I've been talking about is like, you got really two other tiers you have to worry about, right? The first one is like, if you're an MLS, how you got to have an AI policy for your company, right? We're all on Copilot. This is what we do. How are people within my organization using AI that I'm comfortable with, right? So that's a whole project itself, I think, right? Second thing is not outside vendors wanting to get in, but existing vendors, how they're using it. And there's a big talk about this right now because everything you upload into that is now open AIs, is now whatever. So you have some agents that are downloading, CSV files from the MLS, shoving them into OpenAI to do, a quick CMA or some analysis. And now, brother, that's owned by OpenAI, right?
Sure.
So there's got to be ways that MLSs give their own members tools to leverage AI that are in a way not, surrendering that information and data to these big corporations, right? So there's still a lot of work to be done there.
Maybe, but that's like pretending like your phone's not listening to you 24/7. I mean, that's like, I get it, and look, and if an MLS is really, really concerned about it for some reason, like what OpenAI is going to take time to go take your data and do what with it? other than train its AI even more. Like, there's some of that, right? But if you wanted to prevent it, you can do it right now, right? You can just go buy a rack of 4 Mac Studios and then run Kimi K25 locally, right? Or run Minimax 2.5 locally. I mean, and that's me. I don't know shit about it. I'm brand new to this thing. If you go and talk to the actual tech guys, they already know all this. So you could run local LLMs if that's like really a big concern. I think from my standpoint, there are so many implications of this, right? So we'll probably talk about it for coming on weeks and weeks. But the entire notion of a vendor is starting to be a question mark for me. Right.
Well, there's a big thing in the community of like software is dead, right? Which I think is a little bit ridiculous. But I mean,
is it?
Yeah, I do.
Why?
Well, I mean, it's not like you built this, you vibe code this thing that people buy. Well, now you're responsible for all those people's data. Now you're responsible for billing problems. Now you're responsible for customer support. Now you're responsible for updating it. Now, I mean, there's so many other things when it just after the vibe coding is done and after you hook it up to all these systems, you're still it's not like you can walk away and just wait for the checks to come in. There's a lot of responsibility that comes in with that. You're open to being sued for stuff. I mean, it's just not, vibe coding doesn't solve it all, right? So,
wait, what are you talking about?
Becoming a software, what a software company is versus some guy in his bedroom vibe coding something and releasing it to the world.
That's okay. Yeah, that's not what I'm talking about.
No.
I'm talking about literally your customer vibe coding a solution.
Yeah, I don't. I've heard that also. It's like if I'm a dentist, why would I use this CRM? I can just do it myself.
Yeah.
Well, because I'm a fucking dentist. I'm not a CRM designer.
I get it.
Right? I got other things to worry about and work on. I mean,
no, Greg, I get it. The issue is you're going to have an AI assistant bot sitting in your office, and then you're going to tell it, "Hey, I need to keep better track of my customers," and that fucking thing will build it for you.
Yeah, and one day something weird happens, and you don't have the time of 6 hours to debug or figure out.
No, of course you don't. Of course you don't. I'm not saying you do. No, of course you don't. Of course you don't, right? And I'm just saying we're not there yet. Okay, let's be clear. I'm not saying this is going to happen tomorrow. I'm saying the direction is so effing clear though, right? Like if I, a non-technical middle-aged man, could build a dating app using Claude, like some 25-year-old, technologists, and that's today when they have to like constantly babysit it, and right. I'm just saying, put your mind like 2 years out, because the speed that shit is moving, right? That's all I'm saying. Like 2 years out, 3 years out. At that point, the notion of a vendor starts to be questionable.
Yeah, I mean, it could be like it's almost like I think of like Side, right? Hey, I just want to sell real estate. You guys do all the back end shit.
Yeah.
Right? So you might see like stuff like a Stripe company really becomes more of a holding house of like, you just vibe code it, we'll handle the rest. Because there's a lot. Again, billing, support, updating, bugs, legal. I mean, there's so many things.
Of that, what can the AI not do? Of that stuff, billing, AI can do that.
Again, there's got to be some infrastructure managing all that stuff. You can't, if it's just going to be you and 3 things happens at the same time, which happens kind of all the time, you're not going to be able to kind of handle it.
Absolutely. Greg, one of the things you mentioned literally was everyone's speculating what would be the first solopreneur, one guy, that makes $1 billion company. Well, shit, man, if we think that that's possible, why wouldn't it be one guy that could run a real estate office? Right, and all of what you mentioned, Side, gets replaced by really, really smart AI assistants. And again, I'm not saying that's today. I'm not saying it's today. I'm saying that is coming. So I'm starting to question, like, okay, I get it. And look, I'm sure I'm going to have enormous amount of pushback. I already did. I talked to the to the vendors who are at MLS Reset. They're like, "You're crazy. That will never happen." I'm like, okay, cool. I don't know shit, right? I don't know what you guys lived through, so maybe I'm missing all kinds of stuff. That's entirely possible. I'm just telling you, like, based on my experience, what I'm seeing and what I'm staying on top of, like, that doesn't seem like science fiction anymore.
Right.
Let me put it that way, right? That doesn't seem like science fiction. It seems like, oh, this really could be in like a matter of a couple of years, right? Not 10 years, not 20 years, a couple of years. So bringing it back to our whole conversation, I'm like, what organizations, what institutions are built that could deal with that speed of change?
Right. Yeah. Nobody.
And I'm fairly certain.
It doesn't even matter if it's in real estate now. It's
Right. It doesn't.
crazy.
Like, yeah. How can you deal with that speed of change? And I'm fairly certain the way that we do things today in real estate cannot deal with that speed of change. Right. So I don't know which direction it's going to go. I just know, like, it's just going to be popping. The only thing that stopped this is if there's, like, you know, a fucking rebellion by young men in America and they will just go and start burning down all data centers. Right. Like, or, you know, we don't have enough power. We don't have enough copper, like physical world necessities to do this. Right. But if those things aren't going to happen, then it's like a clear path in the forest. I could see it. Right.
Yeah. I like anything. I mean, there's the pendulum swinging this way and that way. And
of course,
we're pontificating to be here, but it's always going to end up. Not
of
as
course,
far, yeah.
Of course. As Keith
and
Roberts,
and you just mentioned something. Those jobs will find another way. Now we're going to have more
some other right.
You know, power engineers, right? That have to have jobs and that kind of thing. So it all ebbs and flows there. Right?
I'm not
a website developer wasn't a job. Right. In 1992, right?
So look, I want to make this clear. I don't think I'm like a doomsday. We're all fucked. I'm not there, right? What I'm saying is there's this huge trade-off, right? So put it simply, let's put it this way: if all the jobs go away, and they're all replaced by small businesses,
but they're not. They're going to be replaced. I mean, they're going to be. These jobs are going to go away, but they're going to be new jobs that are in the future, right? That we don't know about.
We may not even call it a job. In other words, like, is being a farmer a job? I don't think so. No. Here's what I mean. Every farmer, in a way, is a business owner. Like, that farmer's not working for somebody else taking orders, right? That farmer is like farming for himself, and it's a business. And I kind of could imagine something like that in the future. Well, we don't have 22-year-olds graduating college and going, okay, I'm going to apply to these companies and get a job for a paycheck. I could imagine them going, okay, cool, I learned these skills, and I'm going to go start this business that meets this need. Do you know what I'm saying?
Right.
I don't know what that looks like. I suspect that we in real estate probably have a leg up because literally every single agent is an independent business. Right, if you think about it.
Yeah.
Unless you work for Redfin. So in a way, we can adapt to that world faster maybe, and I think we will earlier. But that's kind of what I'm thinking, right? But like some of the jobs go away and they get replaced by businesses. And it could be solopreneurs using whatever.
Yeah, some will be replaced by business. Some will be replaced by other type of jobs, right? I mean,
sure.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But what I'm saying is the way
who would have thought, like, when the internet started, that there'd be a whole industry around SEO, right?
Right.
I mean, Google hadn't been invented to bring the search engine up. I mean, you know, it's like, you don't know about this shit.
Yeah, I'm not a doomer on this one. Because again, I've seen what's possible. Now I'm like, oh, we don't know. The possibilities will open up. We're not all gonna die. It's not gonna be Skynet, you know, and everyone on universal basic income. I'm not saying that at all, right? What I'm saying though is the traditional route is dead. I will say that. In other words, I'm going to go to college, I'm going to study computer science for 4 years, and then I'm going to graduate and get a job with Oracle, and I'm going to build up 3 years of experience. That shit is all gone. Like, that's gone. So you got to figure out some new thing given the tools that at your disposal.
Yeah, I mean, I am again, like you saying, it's like it's exciting.
Very.
Right?
Very.
That's the thing I want people to get across here too. It's like, it's so exciting. It's not like a doomer thing at all. But it's also, I'm excited as a 58-year-old man having some experience in this industry and others.
Yeah.
To know, how are we going to get there to be as what I think we could we could become. Yeah.
Right, and here's the thing, like, so in a sense, in the next few years, I don't see the consulting thing to be a waste, right? Because navigating this chaos, right, is going to take some doing.
Yeah.
I am pointing out, though, the key assumption that I think everyone listening has to make is all the things that we knew, right, of the world as it was, may not be true. So that requires a certain level of mental and emotional flexibility, right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's what you bring in consultants. That's why you bring in people like me and Greg to be like, okay, you know what? You have an important job. You're operating an ongoing concern, right? Our job is to be that mental flexibility and bring up these things and force you to confront it, right? Maybe that's our role. But here's the thing. From that standpoint, I'm going to say this again. In our space that we know, MLSs and real estate organizations, right, especially organized real estate, the most important conversation you need to be having is figuring out how you can be more mentally flexible and how you can be more nimble, how you can make decisions and act quickly. Right? Because the only thing that I could imagine leading to the death of the MLS, and I know I have the reputation, I'm not predicting the death of the MLS yet. But I am confident that if we continue to work at the pace that we are used to,
Yeah.
and the way that we have done things, then yeah, I do think that does lead to extinction. I am pretty confident of that. Right? So let's wrap there. Like, look, I mean, our listeners, we love you guys. We want you to succeed. We want you to survive. But I cannot help but tell you, you have to figure out a way to get way more nimble than you are today.
Yeah.
You just have to. Right? Maybe we don't know what's coming. Maybe it's not going to be everything like fine. But you have to develop the ability to act faster. That's all I'll say, and we'll just leave it there.
Yeah. Good stuff. And thanks for coming.
Fantastic
and
stuff.
Anybody who's listening that went to MLS Reset, for Amy, for Chris, for Stacy, for Dan, and Ohan, thank you so much. We had a great time. Looking forward to doing it again. We don't have any big announcement, but hopefully we'll have some more things there as we go along.
It's a great event. I hope you'll need a
Thanks,
much
Rob.
larger hotel next year because it's such a great event that more people should be attending.
I appreciate that, Rob.
All right. Thanks everyone for listening to us. Ciao.